Hi, I'm Brian Jones of Sky Magazine, and welcome to another edition of Hardcap here in Sarasota, Florida. It was another blustery day with winds over 35 miles an hour as we got the power cools and pre-quarters. I'm here with Zach Smith and Gene Bonaccorsi, our open correspondents. Guys, let's look at Power Pool, the first one, with Ironside, the number one seed in there. We also saw Sockeye, Rhino, and Goat. We saw a lot of regional rematches. What did you see in there, Zach, today?
Well, for the first round, we saw both Sockeye and Ironside dominating their opponents. Sockeye Goat was a big matchup that people were anticipating, but Ironside was able to take care of business and I believe win 15-6. Sockeye did something relatively the same, took down Rhino with relative ease.
We also saw Sockeye rest their starters in that game against Ironside, preparing for tomorrow as they advance to quarters. Gene, what did you see in that pool?
Well, I saw Ironside coming out really strong in their first game against Goat, a regional rematch where everyone had some questions about that final. And Ironside really put it to Goat in the first round. They went up with 3 straight breaks, and after that it was all Ironside. In their game against Sockeye, it played similarly, and I think Sockeye realized that they didn't really need a win per se in the pool, and Ironside ran away with it.
Now let's look at the other power pool where we saw Revolver, one of the defending national champions in there, as well as Johnny Bravo and Double Wide. Ring of Fire snuck in there in the bottom. We saw Johnny Bravo come out strong early, but what else did you see in this pool?
Well, I saw Revolver coming out strong again after having a really good day yesterday. They put Double Wide away really early. I think the final score was 15-3. And then Ring of Fire came out really passionate, really energetic from their sidelines after playing in from the 3 seed in their pool. And they took out Johnny Bravo thanks to some athletic defense and really smart play in the wind.
Zach, what did you see in those pools?
I saw a little bit of a Johnny Bravo team that had trouble just working the disc well in the wind. With the loss of Jack McShane, he had a big boot on his foot. The defensive line didn't have a strong offense without Josh Ackley being on the field or Jimmy Mickle, and they weren't able to battle late in the game against Revolver. They gave Revolver a bunch of late breaks, just giving them good field position. And then also against the Ring of Fire team, Ken Porter had an amazing game, huge athletic plays, and without their athleticism as an advantage, Johnny Bravo wasn't able to compensate for the win, and they came in cold for the Chain Lightning game.
As a result, as you said, Johnny Bravo then finishing last in their power pool. They would go on to pre-quarters to face Chain Lightning coming up from one of the lower pools. You guys talked to both of those teams. What did you hear before the start of that game?
Chain Lightning was energetic and they were ready to play that game. Bravo was trying to be positive, but you could just sense this energy that Chain Lightning was projecting, and that really showed in the first few points of the game.
Yeah, Chain Lightning was a different team than we saw yesterday. Today they came out fiery, they were energetic on defense. Andrew Hollingworth had a huge layout D for them early. Mark Poole made a great catch on an overthrown huck, and I think that they really took it to Johnny Bravo early and established that they were going to set the tone for that game, and then they ran away with it. Johnny Bravo got some breaks back, worked it well in the wind, but I think the whole time Chain knew they were coming out on top.
Now let's look over at the other pre-quarter. We saw Machine go through the lower pools. They ended up having an impressive run there today, getting up to face Johnny Bravo, a team that was going to face Rhino, another team that was pretty haggard from the games they had to play, a lot of Universe Point games yesterday. What did we see in that game, Zach?
Like all tournament long, Rhino had trouble throwing and just running their offense in the wind. Lots of athletic and young cutters who are there to make plays, but really without Seth Wiggins being able to throw, their offense it didn't look right. Ted Jansen was doing his best. Mario O'Brien was playing pretty well, but at the end of the day, they also only ran about 9 players deep yesterday, and those guys like Dylan Freechild and Cody Bjorklund were just tired today. It didn't seem like Rhino had their legs under them, and Machine, they're an underrated team in my opinion. Machine, those guys play really, really good defense, and George Hughes Strange came up with a big grab at the end of the game to basically seal the deal. And going into the game, I was picking Chicago, and I wasn't surprised.
Gene, what did you see in that game?
Well, I think Machine came into today with a chip on their shoulder. A lot of people, myself included, didn't predict them to make the power pool. And then when Ring took the second spot in that pool on Thursday, they had to play through against Madison and Pony today and Truck Stop. Machine just came out really, really aggressively. They were, hucking easily in the wind. They were taking advantage of Rhino being very tired, and I think that for them this was a very meaningful game, playing into quarters, playing into the pro flight. They believe they're in that elite tier, and I think that they played like it today.
Machine certainly showed that they're in the elite tier. So as a result, let's look to quarters tomorrow, guys. We have matchups. We have Revolver versus Machine. We have Goat versus Double Wide, a rematch of last year. We have Ironside versus Chain Lightning, and as well as Sockeye versus Ring of Fire. Tell us about what game you're interested in most tomorrow and why.
I'm really interested in Sockeye versus Ring of Fire. I just think it's going to be a very high-flying, exciting game, but also every single Ring of Fire guy that I talked to after the game, before they left today, they said the same thing. They said if they could choose one top-tier opponent to play in quarterfinals, it was Sockeye. They are ready to play that game, and I think it's just going to be an amazing spectacle of highlights.
I think Sockeye is also looking forward to tomorrow's game. It's going to be another example of high wins, and Sockeye loves that zone play. Gene, what game are you looking forward to?
I'm really excited for the Ironside Chain Lightning game. I think that Ironside's been pretty untested thus far. They've kind of rolled most of the teams they've played. And I think that Chain's deep game is really going to give them some trouble. Chain has throwers like Dylan Tennell, Greg Swanson, who aren't afraid to put it to their athletic receivers, while Ironside plays a little bit more of a boring, as some people have called it, I call it effective offense, kind of contrasting styles. I think it's going to be really exciting.
We did see Chain last year have a slow start at this at the 2011 Club Championships, and then they rebounded to have almost a great run through the semifinals. We'll see if they can do it again tomorrow. Thanks, Zach Smith, Gene Bonacorsi. I'm Brian Jones, and this is another edition of Hardcap.